Good morning. Flurry of moves made yesterday. Deadline is today at 6 o'clock. Perfect.
Yeah. Yesterday, last night, middle of the night.
Yeah. Midnight, Suarez deal. Guy who's been all over it, Jon Morosi, MLB Network, friend of the show. Good morning, John.
Jim and John, good morning, my friends. Happy trade deadline day. Yes, I was. I had some, early morning live breaking shows on the Eugenio Suarez trade last night. So sleep fast, my friends. We're back at it this morning.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Is this the time of year where sleep is not even optional? That you just have to keep an eye on everything that's going on?
You try to get a few hours when you can, John. It's not. It's probably not. If I was sleep tracking or doing your hours or your wellness, it's probably not your healthiest couple days of the year. But you just kind of power through it. Listen, there's a lot of people doing a lot more important things than I am right now. But it's. I'm grateful to be doing it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of interest in what we do, and these are really the days of the year where you just get to learn a lot of interesting things behind the scenes, and then just try to share it as quickly as I can with everybody else while we're all in the big race to get it out there. But it's a lot of fun is what it is, and you're just kind of going on adrenaline. Okay,
so the little things behind the scenes. Now, Eugenio Suarez is going to be in Seattle. There's no hope of him coming to Detroit. Were you hearing anything behind the scenes that the Tigers actually made a legitimate effort to get them or to get Suarez, or was it just kind of playing on the surface?
Well, John, what I was told consistently on the Tigers in the last several days is that they're certainly engaged in working on trying to upgrade the team, but that they're not going to pay significant prices for rentals. And that's exactly what Suarez is. Of course, the names mentioned earlier as well, like Merrill Kelly, also with the Diamondbacks, or Zach Gallen, also rentals. And so what now the price that was paid to bring in Rafael Montero last night, that was pretty reasonable. It was not a major prospect. And I think the same thing was true with respect to the Paddock trade earlier in the week as well. So it's the big takeaway, John, consistently from what I've been told, at least to this point, and here we are, things can change in the last 11 hours or so before the deadline, is that Scott Harris has been pretty disciplined about what he's willing to do. And to this point, the Tigers have not been going all in with, and obviously those that know the Tiger system well, McGonigal, I don't think McGonigal's going anywhere for anybody. Same thing with Max Clark for the most part. I think that the interesting group of players becomes the Max Anderson, Howe Lee, that area of the Tiger system, because there's enough depth there, John, where the Tigers can get some pretty valuable players. But the general sense is they're going to be quite cautious, especially as it relates to rental players.
With Suarez specifically, though, the price was not Clark McGonigal, right? It was not a top 100 prospect that Seattle moved. So why was Detroit unwilling to even part from that second tier of prospects in the Suarez deal?
Yeah, and I think that's the big question, and I think and again, I can't speak for Scott Harris. We'll have to wait and see what he says after 6 o'clock tonight. It's just not the way that he wants to run the organization, to give up even a top 10 prospect in the organization. Someone like, again, I think a Max Anderson would have probably gotten the deal done or close to it, at least that range of player. It's just something that consistently, and we can debate if it's the right way to do things or not. But the way that they want to run the organization is to not give up your top 10 prospects for rentals. And again, last year they were, and I'm not saying the last year can happen every year because that was a one of one kind of a season. They were able to make the playoffs. They're able to make it to the division series without really being a buyer at all. In fact, they were a seller at the deadline, and it all worked to that extent. We can argue and debate, and I think it's a very, very robust and reasonable one to say is, hey, shouldn't you really go all in when you're in first place, when the Yankees look pretty flawed, when the Red Sox are good but not great, and there's a path there, and I think that's a very fair question to ask. But it seems like to me right now that the Mariners and they've traded for Naylor and they've traded for Suarez. Both are rentals, and they've given up decent talent to get them both, but not, again, to your point, not McGonigal, not Clark, not even an injured and rehabbing Jackson Jobe, someone of that level. They're not doing that, and I think it's an interesting litmus test for where the organization is right now.
So what is the biggest need for the Tigers right now? If they're going to go out there and bring someone in, rental or not rental, is it bullpen? Is it bat? Is it starting pitcher? What's their biggest need that you see?
Bullpen for me, John, is what I see, and I think that's where they're allocating most of the conversation at the moment. Is that it's not as much on the offensive side, and it's more on the bullpen. And from what I can tell, a team like the Pirates, they've spent some time working with them on the potential of a David Bednar, Dennis Santana, those types of arms. And again, the key thing of both of them is they're controllable beyond 2025. The interesting thing is, and I think that in general, last night the Suarez trade to the Mariners was a really interesting one because it happened right at the point where you're starting to hear people saying, did the D-backs overplay their hand? Are they going to now have to take a lesser deal to just make sure that they move their pending free agents like Suarez, and then they still have Gallen and Kelly, for example, that there is that pivot point, and it happens right about now where if you're sitting on a lot of pending free agents, you maybe get a little bit nervous about what you're going to be able to get for them. And listen, the Tigers were in a similar situation the last 2 years with Eduardo Rodriguez 2 years ago, with Flaherty last year, that were basically pending free agents. Now, of course, Eduardo, that deal didn't really work out, but Flaherty did in a certain sense, that they were able to get Lorenzo, and then they got someone that helped them as a shortstop make the playoffs last year in Trey Sweeney. So it's a really, really interesting staring contest that goes on right now, John. And I think that's where the Tigers are. But in general, they're looking for bullpen, but controllable bullpen. And if it's going to be an expiring contract for a bullpen piece, it's going to be someone in the range of Montero, who did not really cost a lot in terms of a prospect last night.
Talking to Jon Morosi, MLB Network. It's trade deadline day. Bednar is a name you mentioned. Are there other relievers out there? If they're not willing to pay the price for Bednar, let's say, are there other guys that you've heard they're kicking the tires on? Other teams?
Sure. The Rockies have a number of guys. Jimmy Herget, his name has been mentioned. There's a lot of supply. I guess what I'll say, Jim, is that I would be stunned if the Tigers don't find a way to add at least one more bullpen piece. So the Rays and their guys, Peter Fairbanks, they had checked with the Nationals on Kyle Finnegan, who is still out there and available. There's enough supply there, and the Tiger system is good enough and deep enough that, and again, I'm sure there's a lot of Tiger fans that again wanted Suarez and wanted deals to get done yesterday and 2 days ago. But the silver lining is this, that the Tiger system is so good that teams are not going to just go off and make trades without checking with Scott Harris. He's going to get chances to jump in and make offers. He may not say yes, and to this point, he has not said yes on a blockbuster to this point. Although Paddock, listen, he pitched pretty well in his Tigers debut, so I think we have to make sure that we make that point. But the Tigers system is good and really good, to the point that they're going to be in any conversation they want to be in. And we have not heard a lot from the Rockies yet in terms of making trades. The Nationals made the Soroka deal last night, but they've got some more pieces to still move. The Marlins have some good arms, really good arms, actually, to move as well. So I think the Tigers are still there in part of a lot of conversations.
In the American League, the Blue Jays obviously have been on a heater. I know they cooled off a little bit after the Tigers series, but they've taken over the East. The Yankees are still there. You mentioned the Red Sox; they're still flirting with that wild card spot. the Astros in the West, Seattle with the additions that they've made. Who's the biggest challenge that the Tigers have right now of getting to the World Series, and who's made themselves that much better at the trade deadline?
You know, John, it's a great question because if you called 5 or 6 of us covering baseball and asked us this question, you might get 5 or 6 different answers.
Right.
Because that's and again, that is the case. Just to emphasize, I do empathize and agree with the Tiger fans right now who are saying, go for it, because when are you ever going to be in a situation like this again? And I think that that's actually the right way to do it. I really do. This team is good enough. They've gotten off to this really great first half to even where, think about it, how good of a start do you have to play as poorly as they played for 10, 12 games in a row and still be comfortably in first place? That almost never happens. And that's what happens when it's your year. What your year looks and feels like this. You trade for Chris Paddock, who's had an up and down season. He comes in and pitches great and helps you sweep the Diamondbacks. I mean, there are, as much as things were not going great for a while, this team is really good. It's maybe even great, depending on how things unfold. But this team is good enough that investing, even with a rental, I think makes sense, because you very rarely have an opportunity like that. Now, to answer the question, I honestly think Seattle is as scary as anybody else right now. And the reason is clearly they're all in. They've already traded for 2 different rentals, Naylor and Suarez, and their pitching is really good. And they've got a lockdown closer in Munoz. Brash, when healthy, is really good in the 8th inning. They'll probably make one more addition today because Jerry Dipoto is a very aggressive executive and will make trades in a pretty robust and aggressive way. And then their rotation is right now healthy and one of the best going. And I think that's where, for me, the Tigers probably have to think about, are you really sure? Are you sure that Paddock is the last piece that you need to add to your rotation? And if you're not, then you should go out there and get one more arm today, because there are going to be plenty of guys out there. Again, Michael Soroka, the Cubs did not have to give up a ton to get him. There will be good, solid pitchers. Again, not Hall of Famers necessarily that are moved today, although Verlander might be. It's kind of a separate topic. But there will be some good depth guys moved, and with the Olsen injury, there's a lot of uncertainty right now for the Tigers, to where I think pitching is going to be the focus today. As much as Suarez would have been great, I think pitching is the focus.
Yeah, and you can understand a lot of Tiger fans are sitting on pins and needles going, get in the fight, go add one of those arms. Verlander's not one of those arms, but it's funny you brought him up. You tweeted about it yesterday, and Tiger fans are wondering, like, could the fairy tale happen? Are you hearing anything? Is there a chance JV ends up back in Detroit?
So I was checking on this again last night. I think with respect to the Tigers, I would say that it's unlikely at this stage, is probably the quick answer that I would give. They're going to work with him on where he might go, if he goes anywhere. The Giants have declared themselves to be sellers a bit by moving Rogers yesterday. And I'm told some of their other bullpen pieces are available as well. Duvall, for the right price, could be had too. So I think if the Tigers were to make a move with the Giants, I would say it's more likely to be one of their bullpen pieces like Duvall. Rodriguez would be amazing. He's an all-star. Joey Lucchese's come back to the major leagues and actually had a pretty good run here as a lefty. It's probably one of those non-fairy tale names. That being said, the first time in his career that he was traded, which was 8 years ago, that of course was in August, it was no until it was yes at 11:59. So you never know. That's why days like this can really surprise you a bit. Could Verlander go maybe to a team like again, it'd be a surprise if it's the Dodgers, because that's the Giants' arch rival. But he's actually had 2 decent starts in a row. And the thing I try to tell people is, at this time of year, this is when we who aren't necessarily focused on the big sample size, when we can be right, because guess what? It's the small sample size time of year, guys.
Yeah.
You got to go for it sometimes. And when Verlander's had two good starts in a row, you check on him. When Sandy Alcantara's had 2 great starts in a row, ignore his 6 ERA. He's pitching more like the Cy Young candidate that he was in the past. So it's a lot of fun, guys. There's a lot of action out there. So I would say unlikely Verlander to Detroit, but these are the kind of days when a lot of things seem possible.
We are very appreciative of your time. I know you can sleep tomorrow, but Jon Morosi, MLB Network, we appreciate it.
We sleep in August, my friends. That's the mantra of those of us here in the baseball world. But enjoy the Hall of Fame game tonight, and it's just a great time of year for sports in Michigan.
Of course it is. Thanks so much. It's 97.1.